Ah. Good evening once again. Here we are back, Painfully Honest Tech. Not necessarily the podcast, Painfully Honest Live. We're here right now. We've got people who are in the chat, who are talking to us. We got Jermaine. I saw Genosis, Snowman, The Metal Life, Jermaine, All Dad Tech is here. Of course, Brian Blair, Raul is with us. Let's see, Babaluno. I like that Babaluno. And Theron Ware are all chatting with us right now. Troy, Khalil, everybody's here. So, yes, it is Tuesday. It is time once again to talk about things on Tuesday, the painfully honest tech way. Today has been kind of a crazy day. I've been trying to get a bunch of stuff done. I've been trying to get a bunch of stuff done, and in true getting stuff done fashion, I have not really been able to get anything done. But today, I filmed the principal photography of 3 videos. I am in the process of finding an editor, and I'm going to have that editor edit those videos, and I'm going to talk about stuff tonight on the podcast, which may end up. Okay, it's a podcast, whatever. I'm going to talk about stuff tonight that may or may not turn into little nuggets of content on the YouTube channel. So yeah, everything's good. How's everybody else doing out there this evening? I'm feeling just generally like very. Is there ever a time that I don't feel generally very tired? I don't think that there is. But I try. I keep trying. Last week I got out and I went for a walk twice. And then this week it's back to like there's snow outside and it's cold. And yeah, Ivan, good to see you. Orbit Airsoft and Tech, good to see you as well. It's been a crazy, I don't know. So I'm back. I don't know what that beeping sound is. No idea what that beeping sound is. What is it? Is it you? Shut up. Okay. So I just had to like run out. I was trying to get my cam link to work on my MacBook. Ooh, Alt Dad Tech with the 1999 super chat. Thank you, my friend. Thank you very much. We are on the hype train. The hype train is leaving the station, as it were. And yeah, so I couldn't get the M1 MacBook has been really solid. It's been doing really well these past few weeks that I've been using it as my just video only machine. But in the past week or so, it's just started to get all kind of weird and not really want to do any of the things that I needed to do. So I was trying to get it to see the video, and it wasn't seeing the video. And I ran upstairs and I got my Razer Blade 15, brought it down here, plugged it in, boom, everything automatically worked, and I was ready to go. So I don't know. Am I off the Apple hype train? I don't know. It seems like just when you think you've got a good thing going, things just don't work all that well anymore. So in fact, I was so flustered that I poured myself a carafe of water and forgot it somewhere. So thus are the days of our lives. So yeah, hey, if you don't follow me on the Twitter, then maybe you want to go over there and do that. Jason T. Lewis, PhD. What is the stupid beeping? Can you guys hear the beeping? It's really annoying. I don't know where it's coming from, and it's really annoying. That's the only problem that I have right now. If that's the worst problem that I have, then I guess we're doing okay. So what's been going on in Painfully Honest World? I only did one live stream last week, which, I was meaning to do more live streams than that. But, in true Painfully Honest fashion, things got a little crazy. Went out and bought another vehicle. So I always have this. It's like the computers, the best laid plans of mice and men when it comes to vehicles. Well, good. I'm glad you can't hear the beeping. I don't know what's causing it. So good. So I have an Audi A4 that I don't really drive all that much because I work at home and I don't have anywhere to go because it's like pandemic time. And I haven't really used the Audi. I haven't really used the Audi all that much at all. And in fact, I've had the Audi since I think it's 2 years now, just about 2 years. and I've put 5,000 miles on it. So my wife works in Cedar Rapids, which is 45 minutes away or so. So she's always driving, and she was driving our Jeep Cherokee, which gets crappy gas mileage. And so we just kind of did a little bit. We have a Chevy Volt as well that is supposed to be my daughter's car, but because she hasn't yet got her driver's license yet, and she couldn't take driver's ed because pandemic, and I'm not patient enough to no, it's not that I'm not patient enough. I just would rather her take driving lessons from a professional who's not going to lose his temper. So I can be somewhat harsh. I don't know if you guys know that. Yes, Audi Quattro, A4 Quattro 2017. Very nice, super nice car. I like it a lot. But we had the Volt wouldn't start. We left it sitting outside for a year. Guess what? It wouldn't start. So we had to have it towed to the Chevy dealership where they changed out the 12-volt battery. Everything else was fine, but that needs new tires, blah, blah, blah. So that got us in the what should we do with the car situation? Somehow we went from getting rid of the Volt to buying my wife a BMW. And we can't get rid of the Jeep. As much as I would love to get rid of the Jeep, we can't get rid of the Jeep because the Jeep, we're like stupid upside down on the Jeep. Never buy a car that's going to lose that much value off the lot, because you're immediately upside down on your loan and you'll never get out from under that car forever. 69 Mach 1 with a 428. I mean, are you like commuting in that car? Because that's quite a commuter. But yeah, there's just this whole thing about buying cars. It took me years to realize that buying cars, especially buying cars that won't hold their value, is stupid. And so one thing that I learned, and one thing that helped me learn this lesson, is that the Audi that we bought 2 years ago, I think we paid like $26,000 for it. We can still sell it in a private sale for more than what we own it now. Whereas the Jeep, we're like several $1,000s upside down on the Jeep. So little car buying lesson: don't buy cars that depreciate quickly. Now the BMW actually was a stupidly good deal. It's a BMW 330e. So the 330e is a BMW 330 with a plug-in hybrid battery engine attached. So yeah, you can plug it in. It gets like 20 miles or so when you plug it in, just on the battery alone. But it works like a Prius. It works like a Prius, where the electric battery helps the gas motor and that kind of thing. So yeah, it is a very nice car, and I'm kind of jealous that it belongs to the wife. Kind of jealous that it belongs to the wife, but it does. She deserves it. She got a big old new job not long ago, and so she gets the executive saloon, as they would call it in Britain. And I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it. But now we have 4 cars, which is, there are 3 of us and only 2 of us drive, and one of us doesn't ever leave the house. So Audi for sale. If anybody wants to buy the Audi. All Dad Tech got the Audi Q5. Nice. Those are pretty sweet. Yeah, the Audi's a very nice car, but I have to say, having gotten used to driving the Audi, and then first we were driving a Prius Prime, that we were checking that out, and it gets 600 miles to the gas tank, which is crazy. But we had an original, like not the original Prius, but like the first weird looking Prius. We had one of those. I think it was a 2005 or something like that. And that car, it was like driving a bread box. It was the most blah driving experience ever in the world. But but it had its own sort of charm, right? It had its own sort of charm. Driving this Prius Prime, it's a 2018, no, 2018 Prius Prime, and it was a nice car, but also just as boring. And so, like, you just don't really want to. And yeah, so I saw that they had the BMW, and we did think about the Tesla. We did think about the Tesla. Now, Model S, outside of the price range of the poor YouTube man that I am, um, but yeah, we definitely. I looked at the Teslas. I priced the Teslas. I kind of figured out how we could buy a Tesla, and then we went to the Tesla map. I didn't look. I last looked at Teslas when we bought the Audi, so 2 years ago, and it was when the Model 3 was just coming around. So I was like, okay, I'll check. I'll look at the Teslas. Problem is that when you look at the Tesla supercharger map, you find that there is one Tesla supercharger station in Iowa City where I live. There's like two in Cedar Rapids, that's 45 minutes away. And then the next supercharger is 2.5 hours away in Des Moines. And there just aren't enough supercharging stations in this part of the country to make it make sense to buy a Tesla if you have to travel outside of, like, if you have to travel as a regular thing, so my wife was nervous about getting an all electric car with not really that much support going on behind it. But yeah, I wanted a Tesla really bad. And I did hear about Tesla not having Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, but it does have, I guess it has like native Spotify. I don't know. I have to figure. I mean, it has to have Bluetooth, right? But that center console dash thingy that they've got is pretty crazy. But yeah, I think we could have gotten into a Tesla. The payments would have been okay, but it just wouldn't have made any sense in terms of what kind of driving we had to do. Toyotas, Hondas, Luis is right. I mean, Toyotas and Hondas hold their value really well. I was surprised how well the Audi held its value. The thing that I found is the best thing to do, and you do have to be careful when you do this, but the thing that I found is best to do is look at a car that's like 2 or 3 years old that's used, because those are cars that are just coming off of lease. Now, some people treat their lease cars like crap, and so you have to look out for that. But you can get a pretty good, like the Audi that we got when we got the Audi. I think it had 21,000 miles on it. This BMW that we just got has 18,000 miles on it, and so you can get a really good deal on a car. But so I think the luxury, or like the mid-tier luxury sedan is a good place to go if you want a car that's gonna be good for you for a while. The only thing you want to be careful of is once you're out of warranty, once you're 5 or 6 years down the road, the repairs can be expensive. So anyway, we bought this BMW. It's black with a black leather interior. I mean, it's everything that I want a car to be, and but it's not mine. All Dad Tag 4.99 super chat. Thank you. The wife has the 2018 X5, but you prefer the BMW. I have to say, the driving experience of the BMW was quite sweet. We brought it home for an evening. I will also never buy a car again without bringing it home before I drive it. And like keeping it overnight, because I probably would have bought that Prius, but I slept on it overnight. We drove it again in the morning. It just was kind of boring. Anyway, so we spent 19 minutes of the podcast talking about buying a car. That's not what I came here to talk about. But that was the big news in Painfully Honest Tech world this week. Other big news includes The fact that Apple is suing a guy that used to work for them. He was a pretty high up in the whole Apple ecosystem guy. Um, let's see. Now, all of this, of course, is alleged because the guy they're suing him, but he hasn't been, So, anyway, Simon Lancaster is the guy's name. He was a materials lead at Apple, accused of accessing data outside his job scope and then selling it to a media outlet. I was so scared. When I saw Rene Ritchie's video and I saw his thumbnail and I was like, please don't let this be John Prosser. Please, please don't let it be John Prosser. I was so scared that it was John Prosser, but the way that everything is sort of worded in this makes it sound like it was maybe not a print publication, but a publication that was words and not video or audio, right? So, what's my painfully honest bracket? WVU all the way to the championship, as always. That's my bracket. If WVU is in the, I can't even do it. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so Apple, I guess, okay, let's see what it says here. Despite over a decade of employment at Apple, Lancaster abused his position and trust within the company to systematically disseminate Apple's sensitive trade secret information in an effort to obtain personal benefits. He used his seniority to gain access to internal meetings and documents outside the scope of his job's responsibilities containing Apple's trade secrets. He then provided these trade secrets to his outside media correspondent. Now, I can't understand. This is what I can't understand. The people who leak this information from companies like Apple, they are taking like a pretty significant risk, right? And as far as I know, like they're not getting paid tons of money to give this information to anybody, right? So, like, what is the incentive for leaking this information? So this guy, he left Apple, but before he left Apple, he even went back into Apple and like took more stuff. So let's see. He left Apple and joined a materials research company called Eris. He described his departure as needing to scratch a startup itch on his LinkedIn page. Apple says Eris is an Apple vendor, which enabled Lancaster to continue to siphon trade secrets away from Apple. It's that to me, that's crazy. Now, we don't know who his source was. He's the only person that's been named in this. He downloaded a substantial number of documents, confidential Apple documents, from his personal corporate computer and the corporate network that would benefit him at his new job. So I see where I guess there was a startup that he was trying to get going, and that startup was, he wanted this media correspondent to cover this startup favorably or something like that. It just seems like there are less risky ways to do that, and to me, it's insane. And to go to the lengths that this guy's gone to. And now, do you guys remember? I think it was the iPhone 4, way back, way back, in the old days when Apple was super duper secretive and you never knew anything about anything. Somebody accidentally left an iPhone 4 prototype at a bar, and a guy who worked for one of the tech blogs. I didn't look this up, so I don't know all the details. But a guy who worked for one of the tech blogs, maybe you guys can fill me in if you remember the story, found the iPhone prototype and sold it to somebody who then leaked it all over the place. And Apple basically, like, I don't know, they put out a strike force coming after this guy. And yeah, it's crazy. It was crazy how they came to his house. They came to this guy's house and was like, "Give us the phone." And it's gone from that to now they've got people that work. Maybe this happens more often than I really even know. They've got people working there who are siphoning off all this information, um, and just like giving it away. Was it Gizmodo? Okay, Gizmodo. Yeah, yeah. Apple almost disappeared this guy. I can't even imagine. Like I remember I think it was last year when John Prosser was getting a lot of different information about Apple stuff, and I guess in some like media briefing, Tim Cook was like, "Does anyone know this John Prosser guy?" And I don't know. That would personally like freak me out, but I don't. I have no idea how John gets his information. I have no idea how any of these leakers get this information. I have no idea how you petition to get it. No clue. No clue. Steve Jobs was really pissed about that iPhone thing. And I remember I think it was the iPhone 10 when the iPhone 10 was on its way to the market. Some dude that worked at Apple, high up dude at Apple, brought his daughter to his office and they were having lunch, and she like took a selfie or something and it showed the phone, and that guy got shit canned. I mean, yeah. So I don't. It seems to me now. Here's the thing about being a leaker or being someone who reports leaks. It becomes something that is like it's a feast or famine. Like if you lose your sources as someone who reports leaks, right? If you lose a source or the information dries up for one reason or another, then you are totally effed. I mean, unless you have all kinds of sources backing up the sources that you had, then your entire career becomes like you're no longer like so and so, the guy who does this thing, and you have any sort of mobility one way or the other. You become the guy who leaks the stuff, and I don't know. That seems to me like just a really weird, a really difficult career moment. Um, so yeah, with this guy, I just can't even imagine what it would be like to just realize that yeah, what is Apple going to get out of suing this guy? Let's see here. So he worked for Apple until November 1st of 2019. Uh, Media correspondent first contacted him in 2018, almost a year before. He was a 12-year veteran of Apple, and he shared document labeled confidential to the correspondent. I guess some of it was AirTag, some of it was Apple Glass, some of it possibly was AirPods Max. There's a lot. I mean, at this point, we can read the court documents that have been filed in the United States District Court of Northern California, Northern District of California, San Jose Division. We can read the stuff and kind of read between the lines a little bit, but we don't know anything for sure. Although the first comment on this story, this is a story from Apple Insider. The first comment is, so now we know where John Prosser gets his info. Oh man. So and the next comment is, such a shame. Is there a GoFundMe page to contribute to Apple's suit against this guy? Oh, okay. So they want to. Why would you want to contribute to Apple? Apple is a $1 trillion company. Wow. Now I could see if you were getting rich, but I mean I don't think this guy was getting rich, right? He just was leaking this information, maybe in the hopes that some good press would help his startup company. That I don't know. All I know is it seems really ridiculous. Apple requests the court provide judgment in its favor for injunctive relief, damages proven at trial, punitive damages, restitution at costs of the lawsuit. Apple also demands a trial by jury. Woo, woo, man. Would you want to sit across the courtroom from Tim Cook and have him say good morning to you? I don't know that I would. I mean, Johnny G. Now, this is not fake news because I mean we have a court document that states these things in detail. What it means, we don't. I mean, we don't know all the who's, what's, and when's, and how's, and all that kind of stuff. But we do know that it's a real deal because this is a public document that was filed in the Northern District of California's San Jose Division District Court of the United States. So, good morning. I'm gonna sue your ass today, and you won't leave here with pants. So we've got that, and I really hope that it's not anybody that we know who has any connection to this. It didn't. Again, the documents make it sound like it was written and not like video or audio related. But still, who really knows? He'll be sent to the Apple gulag in China and made to produce iPhones. Well, I mean, he could just he'll be there in the Foxconn plant at Shenzhen, and he will just he'll just have to assemble iPhones, and if it gets too bad, he'll jump off the building and land in the nets. Just that's just the way it is. Tech for your needs. So yeah, I do have 2 live streams going on on YouTube right now. Thank you for reminding me. So there has always been this sort of, I guess they're just like legends or myths. Because nobody can ever get real information about what happens on YouTube. But there's always been this sort of urban legend that live streaming on your channel where you release videos can be detrimental to the algorithm looking at your channel. Some people live stream on their channel and seems to have no problems whatsoever. It's probably not a big deal, but I did start a long while back, maybe a year plus ago, Painfully Honest Live channel. And so it's been suggested to me again that I try separating the live streams from the channel. And I'm going to start doing these live streams over on Painfully Honest Live. Now, right now, because of our generous sponsor, Restream, I am able to stream both to my regular YouTube channel and to Painfully Honest Live at the same time. So that's what I'm doing right now. Yeah, I know Rich makes his living live streaming. I gotta talk to Rich from Review Tech USA and find out more about what kind of, see, 'cause he works some kind of magic. And I look at Rich's channel and this channel as somewhat similar, not necessarily the same, but somewhat similar. And he's gone through a lot of different content and style permutations, and I'm going through sort of the same thing at this point as well. So I'm curious. I want to talk to Rich and find out more about his journey from one thing to the next. But I do think I'm going to try the live channel for a while and just let this channel be like the destination for the edited, curated videos. So if you're not subscribed to the Painfully Honest Live channel, then by all means go over there and hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification, let yourself know whenever there's going to be a new live stream. And because I also want to be able to just go live whenever I feel like it. And sometimes I feel like going live, but it's like I'm planning a video and I don't want to do 2 things like so close together. So this will let me go live whenever I feel like it, and do more hangouts and do more, whatever. So subscribe over there at Painfully Honest live, and yeah, well, that'll be good. Now, so Michael's saying, yeah, I got a boost in my views and subscribers since I started back with going live on my main channel. Really, that's interesting. That's really interesting. I mean, I've just when I think I notice a pattern, it turns around and it's something and it's different. Um, I feel like I have like I was getting I had a video do really well last week. And I was moving up and gaining subscribers. And then like last week when I did a live stream, a couple of live streams or whatever, the subscribers went, I can't figure it out. It's not that I care about subscriber numbers per se. I appreciate anybody who subscribes to the channel, but I'm not like looking for a specific number that's going to tell me, oh, once I get to X subscribers, then I'm this, that, or the other thing. That's not necessarily what I'm looking at, but I'm looking at the subscriber numbers, at the view counts, at different things as like, as just like barometers for whatever it is. It's like, are the subscriber numbers going up? Are they going down? Does that mean that things are going well? I've been doing this now for a bunch of years, and for some reason, I still can't figure it out. Now, Fat Produce with a $2 super chat has a very interesting question, and LMR Lucas. My daughter has people over. I'm sorry about this, but my daughter has people over, and we have one dog that if there's like a different person in the house that doesn't belong here, will not shut up. I don't know if you guys can hear the dog, but it's annoying. It's putting me on edge. It's setting my teeth on edge, as they say. LMR Lucas says that I'm the most handsome, sexy YouTuber in the world. In the world, that's excessive. I don't believe that's true. There are plenty more handsome YouTubers than myself, but I appreciate the sentiment nonetheless. So Fat Produce with the super chat says, what retro tech do I still use today? Let's see. I know there's something. Does a CD player count? Does a record player count? Because I think I still use those. I've got this 11 rack that is now like really old and no longer supported. So I guess, but I'm getting rid of that. Well, because I got a Line 6 Helix, and it's stupid. It's stupid expensive, and it's way more than I need. So I don't know. I think I'm going to take it back and get something for dumb people, because when it comes to guitar stuff, I'm really dumb. So yeah, that's. I'm sure there's other stuff that I'm just not thinking of right now. Does a Kindle count? I mean, it's a new Kindle. It's a Kindle Oasis, but the whole philosophy behind the Kindle is not as it's the single-use device is outdated, right? So an old iron like this one, yes, this is a sad iron. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever told you guys the story behind this. This was my grandmother's family, and it has like a separate handle that you put on it, and you heat it up on the iron stove, like, and then you pick it up with the handle, and that's how you iron your clothes. This thing weighs probably 10 pounds, and it had an asbestos sleeve that went over it so that you didn't burn yourself. So my media company is called Sad Iron Media. My band is called Sad Iron Music. My studio is called Sad Iron Studios. There's just something about that phrase, Sad Iron, that sort of tickles me. So I just keep using it. And sad, I looked this up one time. I think it was on a live stream. Sad didn't only mean like, emotionally not feeling happy, but it had some connotation to like weight, I believe, or something like that. I'll look it up again and let you guys know. So do I collect vinyl records? Yeah. I mean, I always have. I've got a thing back there that has um that has probably a couple of hundred records in it. I've my collection is ballooned and then like sort of cut down again over the years. I have a whole thing about music. If you guys didn't listen to the Painfully Honest podcast, the Painfully Honest with Jason T. Lewis podcast, my new podcast that's available through the Empire Podcasting Network over wherever you get your podcasts, I talked about whether music had okay. Let me put it in not in some kind of okay. Let me put it in non-passive voice. Have live streaming or streaming services destroyed music? And the answer for me is partially yes. Because the way that I listen to music has been fundamentally changed by the existence of these streaming services, right? So now it's much easier to like go to Apple Music or go to Spotify or go to wherever and have like you see a playlist, like you want to listen to Van Morrison, let's say, and you know that you love the Tupelo Honey record, right? But whenever you search Van Morrison, Apple Music says Van Morrison Essentials. And you know that the songs that you like from Tupelo Honey are going to be in there. So you just listen to the Van Morrison Essentials. And even that is is like more directed than a lot of times. Like a lot of times I'll just press I'll just press play on the Jason Lewis station that Apple Music has, and usually it plays stuff that I like, or that I haven't heard forever. They played the Volcano Sun. Apple Music played the Volcano Suns on my media device the other day, and the Volcano Suns were such a good band. I don't know if they're still playing, but they were a punk band in the 80s and 90s, and man, they were so good. They came and played the club that I used to hang out in all the time, and man, yeah, Volcano Suns. And I hadn't heard the Volcano Suns in 20 years probably. So that was really, really good. I was glad. Okay, so Alejandro has looked up the sad thing. So it comes from the Old English meaning weighty, hefty, or dense. Yes, I knew it had something to do with that. And so yeah, thank you for looking that up, Alejandro. Much appreciated. So yeah, the sad iron is just based on that. And man, this is also like a personal defense weapon. That's how I judge everything. Could I defend myself effectively with this or this set of headphones or whatever? That is the ultimate arbiter of whether or not a piece of technology is good. You can only is there a Dollar General podcast network? I mean, it doesn't cost you anything to subscribe to the podcasts. Doesn't cost you anything. But yeah, I would imagine like vinyl is getting more difficult now. I remember when I first, so vinyl was kind of on its way out as like the media for music when I was graduating from high school. The CD was coming in and all that kind of stuff. And so over the years, I would go and buy vinyl here and there, and if there was a record I really liked, I might have it on vinyl and CD. If it was Michael Jackson's Thriller, I had it on cassette, 8-track, and LP. But yeah, but now it dawns on me that like a lot of the stuff that you used to be able to get just going out and browsing the used record store shelves, a lot of that stuff isn't as available anymore as it would have been, not even not even like that long ago. So I'm kind of bummed that I have sold a lot of my vinyl collection. Well, not a lot, but there are records that I sold that I still miss. I went through a phase where we had a garage sale, and I was like, I'm selling all the vinyl. I'm not going to carry this stuff around anymore. And and I didn't. I sold like maybe 10 or 20 records, and then I started to feel really bad about it. So I took them down to the basement again, and didn't sell them anymore. But I sold like, like a Liz Phair record that I didn't want to sell, and there were a few others that I really didn't want to sell. Stability and Chaos says, losing personal enrichment with music on streaming services has to do with laziness, the personal weakness. Discipline is all it takes to make your music listening better than ever. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And I used to admire the people who could like so intensely arrange their MP3 collections, and they'd have like all of the metadata in there. And this is back in the day when the metadata wasn't just like sucked up from someplace on the internet, and they had all these playlists and everything like that. I always admired those people, but I came to understand once music streaming became a thing that I'm kind of an emotional music listener. So I would look at my collection of CDs or records, and I'd be like, what do I feel like listening today? And then I'd browse the spines, and I'd grab something, and I'd put it on, and that would be what I'd listen to. It wasn't really like super organized or anything. And so now when I go to listen to stuff on a streaming service, I can't I can't do the just like browse the spines of the records or CDs. Like, you just have this long list of band names, and then it's like, they're interleaved into different folders and stuff. So it's not necessarily as fun, or as well, it's not as easy to just let your emotions sort of grab the thing, right? So no, I think you're right that with a little bit more fortitude, I could definitely have a much richer experience listening to music. But usually, if I'm on the go, if I'm jumping in the car or something like that, I mean, there's always some kind of kerfuffle with like trying to get the Bluetooth to hook up, or whatever. I just go like with the easiest thing to listen to. I should try and do more, but I don't. I don't, and it's a drag. Um, yeah, and buying vinyl, like, you're right. Orbit says buying vinyl today is like highway robbery. Bought an AC/DC. Yeah, for $80. Eesh. That's crazy. I mean, there's something to be said for buying high quality vinyl. Because it used to be that you could go to any flea market and get whatever AC/DC record you wanted for 50 cents, but it's like somebody's crappy copy that had been sitting around in a basement for 30 years and smelled like mildew, right? So there's something to be said. Like, I like reissues for that reason. You get more for your money. Although I have to say, these new mixes that Giles Martin did of the Beatles, of those few Beatles records, what was it? He did Abbey Road, he did the White Album, and he did Sgt. Pepper's, right? And I have the Sgt. Pepper's remix, but I didn't buy the White Album, and I didn't buy Abbey Road. And I want, like, they're in my Amazon cart, and I just didn't buy them. Now, if I were in a record store and I saw those things, I would get that, like, the little butterflies, and I would grab it, and I would go I would go and buy it. But because I could get it from Amazon whenever, it just sits in the cart and I don't get it. I mean, I have mono and stereo Beatles box sets over there, and the new mixes from Giles Martin are very, very good. The records sound really, really awesome, but I just haven't felt that I had to go get them, because I can listen to them on Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, right? So yeah, that's one thing. Like, and Orbit's right. Thrift stores can be a great place to go get old records. I found that, okay, so I lived in New York City for 11 years, and when you live in New York, you kind of get used to the whole idea that you can go anywhere and get anything at almost any time of the day. You can just go do it. And then when you move to a mid-sized town like Iowa City, that's in the middle of nowhere, the closest big city that would be, sort of an analog to New York is Chicago, and Chicago is 3+ hours away. And so you just end up like, I can't go to a record store, and I can't go to like an electronics store. I can't go to a musical instrument store. Like, the only musical instrument store anywhere near me, well, there's a local one that's pretty cool, but they don't really stock anything. It's more of like, you buy your supplies there, and they have some guitars, but Guitar Center is in Cedar Rapids is the closest music store, like instrument store, and it's terrible. Guitar Center is like the saddest place on earth now, because because they're in bankruptcy, and nobody who works there, like, they're all under 25 years old, and nobody who works there actually really knows anything about any of the things that they're selling, and it's just the saddest place on earth. I went to Bleecker Bob's many, many times. In fact, Bleecker Bob's was one of the first places I went in New York City when I went with my high school girlfriend's family was from Brooklyn. And so my senior year in high school, she and her mom were going to visit family. They took me with them. And one of the first places that I went was the West Village. Bleecker Bob's was one of the first record stores that I went into. And I think it was at Bleecker Bob's that I bought a Mobile Fidelity copy of not Abbey Road, but the White Album. I have like 4 good copies of the White Album right now. So, yeah, I miss being able to geek out about that stuff, man. I used to love, like, get a 12-pack or a case of beer, and a friend comes over, and you just listen to records, and you just geek out over what you're listening to. That was so awesome. But, so Snowman says, I agree 100% about Guitar Center. I remember walking in a few months ago, and they had all the instruments roped off because of COVID. And what do you do when that's exactly, yeah, that's absolutely true. And it's funny because I was in there 2 weeks ago to pick up this like guitar thing, and all of their Gibsons and all of their upper echelon Fender guitars were on the very top row, like 10 feet off the ground. And I stood there. Usually you can't get the people at Guitar Center to go away. Like, they'll bother you and bother you and bother you. But I stood there for like 10 minutes, just kind of looking at everything that was on the wall. Nobody came up to me and said, hey, do you want anything? And maybe it was a COVID thing. Maybe it's just the fact that Guitar Center is like a dead store walking. Alex, yes, we did get to the Apple suit thing. And basically, there's an Apple Insider article that I can link in the store, in the thingy right now. We put it in the chat for you. But basically, somebody who was higher up at Apple was leaking all kinds of stuff to someone, and now Apple's suing them for damages, et cetera, et cetera. I would not want to get sued by Apple. If there are plenty of people who get sued by Apple, is not one of them. What do I expect from the? So here's a good question. No, see, whenever the chat moves, my finger, I end up hitting the thing that I don't want up there. What do I expect about the iPhone 13 lineup this year? I got to admit, I know that people have been talking about it. I haven't really been paying attention all that much, because I hate leaks. I hate rumors. Every once in a while, I'll report on something, that's come out, leak or rumor or whatever. But for the most part, I try and ignore most of that stuff. But I think the iPhone 13, I really don't know. I don't think we're gonna see anything crazy. There have been stories that have said we're gonna potentially see some sort of folding iPhone in 22 or 23. So I don't know that Apple's gonna do anything all that big. I kind of just have this feeling that it's not going to be anything all that exciting, but of course I could be wrong. Maybe a smaller notch would be a nice thing. But tell me true. Tell me true. Does anybody who uses an iPhone now really notice the notch anymore at all, ever? Because I don't. I don't. Um, Maybe okay. I shouldn't say I don't. I should say that the only time I do is when I put my phone in landscape mode and a video has been shot in 2:1 aspect ratio, so that little portion is being cut out. But usually videos are 16:9 and you don't lose anything. So yeah, I don't think that there's really anything at all uh, to complain about. Although a smaller notch would be fine. The notch going away would be great. Um, there'll be new colors for sure. um, man, I just keep whenever we talk about Apple and colors, I just keep thinking back to those proposed iMac colors that just seem like they would be so awful to me. But you know, um, so Genosa says that he notices the Pixel 5's punch hole more in landscape mode than when watching movies. Yeah, that's a good point. I kind of do, like with the Galaxy Note 21 that I'm still using right now. Um, I kind of notice the hole punch more than I notice the notch as well. Maybe it's just because it's smaller real estate, and so it it just it's more noticeable. But at the same time, I don't know. I just I just saw my friend Sarah Dici made a video, and the title of the video is "I sold all my Bitcoin to buy a Tesla." There's something about finance in there that seems like a non-linear. I don't know, because Tesla's a big thing and Bitcoin is a big thing. Man, I was thinking about getting into all that stuff. And yes, I do want to invest money. I've tried to explain this to people before. Like when you're poor, or when you grew up poor, your relationship to money and thought of investing that money is like a lot weirder and a lot more messed up than if you came from a background where that was something that was normalized. And so, like, investing my money has always been like a weird thing. So uh and I still get weirded out when I see people like putting actual dollar amounts of what they've invested and what they've made on Twitter. That still seems odd to me. But I mentioned it before and nobody seemed to think that it was all that big a deal. I I think Siri and some improvements to Siri as would be great as well. I have a feeling that they've slowly been working on Siri through the years. Um, and I have noticed that when I try and interact with Siri, like even on the HomePod Mini, I get more of what I'm asking for than I ever had before. Um, so yeah, I think Siri. I kind of feel like all of the sort of virtual assistants are at like a standstill. Like Google's there, and it can do a lot of stuff. And yeah, I don't know. It's kind of do it. I don't know. They seem like they're waiting for the next thing, just like smartphones are waiting for the next thing. Uh, like voice assistants are waiting for the next thing. I think that when Google Assistant or Siri or or Alexa or whatever is implanted in your ear, and you just talk to them, that will be like something else. But yeah. So disappointed in MagSafe iPhone. So here's the thing. I think they made a big deal out of MagSafe and the potential for all of these like accessories and all that kind of stuff. I don't think they introduced MagSafe for one reason and one reason only, and it was not to sell more accessories. Although the more accessories they sell, the more the happier they are. They introduced MagSafe so that they could get rid of the Lightning port entirely and just charge via MagSafe. And so I wouldn't be surprised. Although I don't think it's likely, that we see the port go away, if not this year, then next year. That's my thought right there. And Bob has a good point here when it comes to investing money or gambling or any of those kinds of things. If you can't afford, I would say if you can't afford to lose the money, then you probably shouldn't put it at risk. So that's the way that I kind of feel about it. But yeah, I agree with you. But it's also just an entire thought process that I don't think is as easily understood. Like, I think people who grew up without money find it hard to relate to people who maybe did and had those things as normal parts of their lives, and vice versa. I think that people who investing money, saving money, having cash on hand, that kind of thing, people who that's normal for in general, it's difficult for them to put themselves in the headspace of somebody who spent most of their life living paycheck to paycheck. So there'll always be some kind of disconnect there. So wait, I want to see this. Ace says that Justine tried to buy her Tesla with Bitcoin when her car broke down. No, I didn't know that. But you have to cash the Bitcoin in first, don't you? I mean, Bitcoin is supposed to be its own currency, but you can't buy anything with it. Am I understanding that correctly? Yeah, I don't know. What car did she have that broke down? You would think that, I mean, she should be able to get it fixed, right? Yeah, John's right. One of the poverty traps is, once you get used to living hand to mouth, it doesn't matter how much is in your hand, it all goes in your mouth. Until you're able to like recognize and break that cycle and become somebody who sees, who's able to see, more longitudinally instead of more vertically. It's really different. Yeah, I mean, you can buy Tesla with Bitcoin now. Okay, so well, that's good to know, because I don't have any Bitcoin and I don't have a Tesla. Elamar, thank you for stopping by. Much appreciated. Have a good evening in Brazil. I appreciate your kind assessment of my looks. I appreciate it. The last time I talked to Justine about a car, she wanted one of those Ford Raptors. Yeah. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Orbit. She put out a video, and I haven't watched the video. I just saw the thumbnail before the podcast, the live stream started. Yeah, I guess that she traded in all of her Bitcoin for and bought a Tesla. I don't know. I don't know if you guys watch Sarah's videos on a regular. I do, and she's a friend, and I like her a lot. And just her whole, I've just been kind of watching her really struggle with living in New York through the COVID thing, and all all that kind of stuff. And she and her fiance have just moved down to Texas, and they've uprooted their whole lives, and they've got to, when you move from New York to any place else, you have to like reconfigure your life for the rest of America. Like you have to have a car. You have to be able to drive places. It's really weird. So I've been interested seeing her videos, just talking about like the struggles, because I don't think she's said like really specifically, but you can tell that there's like anxiety, depression, like all the kinds of stuff that you can have. And having lived in New York City during a real time of crisis, like during 9/11, and the city just has a real weird, I mean, not a bad. A lot of times in New York, when there's a crisis, the best in the people in the city comes out, and everybody supports everybody. But it's still like a relatively closed-in space. You're on an island that's 10 miles long and like 2 miles wide at its widest, and you've got millions of people stuck there, and then you're dealing with a pandemic. I can totally understand how that would be really, really difficult. So she's been kind of chronicling that, and the struggles that it's had, the struggles that it's brought to like her doing her YouTube thing and all that. So yeah, and I think she's living in the Dallas area, so there should be plenty of charging available, as opposed to here in Iowa, where I mean, if it was realistic to be able to charge and travel as much as my wife does, we probably would have had a Tesla, a couple of years ago, but we don't. And every time I look at them, I'm like, it's like going to a fancy furniture store and being like, "Ooh, that furniture is really awesome. It would be really cool to hang out on that furniture and just have that furniture be a part of your life." And then you just have that sort of like reality check of, there's no way that I'm going to be able to have that furniture right now. So yeah. Remember when Bitcoin was a scam? I'm still like, I have to admit, I'm mathematically challenged to begin with, and I really don't understand how Bitcoin or any of this like blockchain whatever stuff works. Like the story of the guy who sold, I guess he had taken a picture every day and put it online for some ungodly number of years, and he put together a collage in a JPEG and sold it for $69 million. $69 million. Which is just, he sold a JPEG for $69 million. I mean, the NFT thing, and it's an NFT, right? So, I understand the NFT conceptually, but I still have this real issue with like reconciling an NFT as a unique, non-fungible thing that still doesn't really exist. I mean, it's a virtual thing, and then that brings into question, like, well, don't virtual things exist? I don't know. Do they? It's a good question. And the thing is, like, so $69 million for an NFT of this collage. Also, Justine has a Mercedes GLE. Ooh, so fancy. Don't take this as me like making fun of or joking about or being dismissive of either Sarah or Justine. They are both friends, and I like them both quite a bit. But sometimes, like, especially Justine, her adventures are like larger than life somehow. So I just really enjoy, and I just really enjoy Justine's adventures. Fungible. So it's non-fungible. So like an NFT is non-fungible. I forget what the T stands for. But Yeah, fungible is one of my favorite words that I've never got to use nearly this much. I've never got to use this nearly as much, and it's a word that I've known for a while, but I had to like remind myself of the meaning. So non-fungible token, yes, that's right, non-fungible token, and something about the NFT thing really makes me feel like I'm living in a cyberpunk novel now. Like this $69 million JPEG would be something that a character from a William Gibson book would steal, and then that would be the plot device. So I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see how it all pans out. I mean, it's really on the upside from the people that I've talked to. The upside is that it is a potential way for artists to for the artist's work to have value over and above like the very fungible aspect, like streaming service and all that kind of stuff. So it gives another potential revenue stream to artists for them to sell their work. So I'm curious to see where it goes, but at the same time, it just seems weird. Like, I think we talked last week about the fact that the Kings of Leon released their record as an NFT, and I'm just kind of like, would anyone who would want a non-fungible token of a Kings of Leon record? I mean, yeah. I'm sorry, but there's nothing more fungible than the Kings of Leon. I'm sorry. Oh man. But so Gaylord shelled out for the AirPods Max coming next week. Good luck, man. I hope you got a color other than white, because I've noticed that the white makes me nervous. Mine are like yeah. But I'm selling mine, but it's in no way it's in no way a judgment against the AirPods Max. It's just that I have so many headphones everywhere, and I'm starting to lose my mind. And so, so I you get to a point when you're doing this YouTube thing, suddenly like your whole house is just filled with stuff, and it's time to like get rid of some of it. So that's what I'm going to do. The NBA or someone does NFTs for NBA moments or something like this. See, that's odd, because couldn't you just watch the replay on ESPN? How could you package a moment in an NFT? I mean, I guess I could see the potential for it, but I don't know. That sounds bizarre. Yeah, everybody knows that it's very like there's the footprint of making the cars, and then all that kind of stuff. It's better than nothing. That's what I'll say about electric vehicles. Eventually everything will be electric, but everything costs resources. So I think that moving in that direction is not going to be like suddenly we're perfectly carbon neutral or anything like that. But it's a good step. It's a good step. Time to Marie Kondo my space. I got to tell you, man, I like minimalist whatever as much as anybody. I mean, I wear black every day because it makes my life easier, and I try. I'm like a minimalist who can't stop himself from being a maximalist. Like, there's just always so much crap around me, and I desperately want for there to not be so much crap. But um but yeah, Marie Kondo though, that makes me nervous. Like the whole like, okay, so the form of depression that I have is called dysthymia, and dysthymia is as the easiest way to describe it is it's like a low level of depression at all times. Sometimes there's peaks, sometimes there's valleys, but for the most part, you're depressed like all the time on a like a baseline level. So whenever Marie Kondo says, does this bring you joy? I'm like, dude, nothing brings me joy. So, so how am I supposed to answer that? I'd throw away everything. No, that's an overstatement. But the thing is, like, I think, well, I understand it from a whole like philosophy standpoint, but I think there are easier ways to do it. And have you noticed, like, so Matt D'Avella is a guy who sort of became well known as like a minimalist. He's kind of moved away from that and is like now sort of just an overall sort of life coach kind of guy, I guess, like a Thomas Frank kind of thing. Um, and so I just think that all good things in moderation, right? I like, you can't go all one way or all the other way, but sometimes I feel like no matter what I try, I'm just still like just overwhelmed with crap. um so yeah. Hydroelectric dams. I power all my dams with hydroelectricity. Sorry. Sorry. Um, Pure minimalism is like a rich person thing. I guess in a way, I mean, it's definitely an upper middle class thing. And I think it's really interesting when you talk about minimalism and you see the people who practice minimalism and what it is that they're reacting to that makes them want to practice minimalism. It's like it's conspicuous consumption, right? Yeah, hydroelectric hot dams. That's right. That's right. Um, Conspicuous consumption is what I think, and just the whole culture around conspicuous consumption is what makes a lot of people sort of look to the whole minimalist idea as a way to break that cycle. If you're if you're if you're not somebody who can buy whatever you want, um, then you don't have that problem, right? It's the people who can go out on the weekend and buy whatever buy whatever they want whenever they want, and then some of those people react to that, and I don't think it's a bad thing to react to that. I mean, conspicuous consumption is a not a good thing. Again, all things in moderation is a great way to think about your life. So I know myself as an addictive person, a person who is easily addicted to things and will easily transfer those addictions to other things. I know that, I was addicted to smoking cigarettes, and I was, addicted to drinking alcohol, and I'm just as much addicted to buying stuff as I am anything else. And so I know that I need to keep that in my mind. And so, the minimalist thing is a mechanism by which to do that, right? So I don't know. I mean, again, it can't. That's why I see guys like Matt D'Avella, and there are a few other people who have become these kind of like these like, I don't know, 30 something male lifestyle dudes. Thomas Frank and Matt D'Avella and Nathaniel Drew, although I think he's younger. There are a bunch of them on YouTube, and they all do really good things. But they start out with like how to be a minimalist, and then they sort of like, and then they evolve or devolve into, more life less like, I don't know. They're all gonna write books about how they can, I don't know. The next step is books. I read recently the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, which I thought was actually a really good book. The Poets, welcome. Yeah, the alcohol thing. So a lot of people don't think about it, which is good for them, because they probably don't have to. But a lot of people don't have to really think about like the nature of addiction and how you become addicted and what addiction is serving in your brain and how you're using that to. Yes, they want to be the guru. So how your addiction is sort of manifesting itself. I don't think addiction ever goes away. I think there's like a more rooted problem in the brain that makes that whole thing it's a symptom and not the disease, I guess is what I'm saying. Stoicism is underrated. I mean, but whenever Stoicism also just makes it sound like you're just a grumpy old man, right? So that's but I Stoicism is becoming, I fear Stoicism is becoming the new minimalism, right? So I don't know. I'm glad to see the Poets. I feel like since Zach and Viper left, we've been missing people. I don't know who's not coming around, but I feel like we've been missing some people. Although I'm perfectly happy to see all of you around and having these conversations. I am enjoying these live streams a lot. Not that I didn't enjoy the other live streams, but I'm enjoying these because I don't know. I let my brain flow free and go off to whatever. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, Stoicism is the new me. Stoicism. Okay, yeah, I get it. I mean, I think all of us could use a little bit more stoicism in our lives for sure, because we tend to take things way too seriously. The internet is part and parcel of one of the ways that happens. And if you're a little bit more stoic, you're not gonna swing all over the place, and willy nilly emotionally like people do. So yeah, I think I think that stoicism is a good thing. I just think whenever I'm not a joiner, I guess this is the whole thing. I'm not really a joiner. So whenever something becomes um whenever something becomes like the next something, then I start to like really I start to feel really resistant to it, because like I don't know. It just but so Yates says, I feel more lonely and depressed than ever before. Nothing brings me joy, and I hate society and culture. Welcome to the club, my friend. I mean, I think that this is something that a lot of people feel for sure. I know that I feel this um, a lot, and it's really hard to pinpoint. I don't think that I think that we will look back on the pandemic year, and we will recognize exactly how difficult it was for everyone, both individually and collectively. And we'll see that I think that the pandemic year has amplified feelings in me that were already there, that just like kind of I was able to cope with a little bit more. I don't know if that's the case for you, Yates, but yeah, and it's been incredibly isolating. I mean, these live streams and just doing videos and talking to people in chats and being on Twitter and those kinds of things. All of those things have been really helpful for me. Like if I didn't have this outlet of just like getting on and being able to talk back and forth with people, then I would have, I don't know, maybe I would have read more books, which wouldn't be a bad thing, but I might have also like done something drastic to myself. um, am I resisting Clubhouse? Yeah, I did the Clubhouse thing for a little while, and I mean, I went into like 3 or 4 rooms, and it just isn't for me. It just isn't for me because, like, I don't know. I suppose if I went into different rooms, it would be different. But I went into like YouTube and like social media advice rooms, and I ended up like giving a lot of advice, which isn't necessarily a bad thing at all. I like giving people advice. I like passing on whatever knowledge I've gained over time. But at the same time, like, it's not the best use of my time at this moment, if that makes sense. Um, so I just want to be I just want to be a little bit more precious with my time and do things that are gonna continue to benefit me, because I got a long way to go on this journey in order to be, stable in the business and growing and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah. Um, yeah, and Yates, I'm not saying that you are feeling that suicidal or anything like that. Um, I'm just saying I just think that the pandemic has amplified a lot of this stuff for a lot of people. Yeah, I had to mute a few people at the height of Clubhouse. I don't know if Clubhouse is still at its height, but I muted a few people on Twitter because I just didn't want to see like nine to five Clubhouse, 24/7 Clubhouse. Um, Clubhouse is a steak spice, yes, but that's not what we're talking about. This is a new, like, audio only social media platform, which is intriguing. I agree. Um, Clubhouse is very intriguing, but yeah, there is a lot of smartest guy in the room itis, and it's smartest guy in the room itis from the people that, if you're in a YouTube room, the people that you would expect to be the smartest guy in the room, have the smartest guy in the room itis, are the people who do. And I'm going to be totally honest. Whenever I'm in that kind of situation, I am one of those guys, and I don't necessarily like being one of those guys. And so that's another part of it. Um, but I think ultimately with Clubhouse, the interesting thing with Clubhouse is going to be like, can it scale? I think it's a really interesting way for brands and individuals, and you know I think it's a way to democratize somebody's ability to speak to people one on, like in a group. Um, but I don't know. Uh, I don't know if it can scale the way that it does. Um, and the thing is, like Ace said, he likes Clubhouse rooms that are just chill. See, for me, like, I've got a group of guys that I play games with, and a lot of times, like, that's where I get my chill randomness, is just hanging out playing games. Which reminds me, that's another thing that I want to start doing. I want to start streaming more game stuff. I don't care if anybody really wants to watch me play games. Honestly, I just you know, I enjoy the interaction with people in the live stream, and I play the games, and I want to do more of that. Like, I'm a Twitch affiliate, and I haven't streamed on Twitch in over a year. So part of the reason is, like, I can't I can't simulcast. I can't stream on Twitch at the same time I stream on YouTube, because as a Twitch affiliate, that's like against the terms of service. Anyway, somebody was asking about the death of the HomePod earlier, and I do want to talk about death of the HomePod. Um, and I also want to talk about these rumors for AirPods 3, right? But I did promise that we would talk a little bit about the March Madness. Um, I am not going to fill out a bracket, because I, I know how my bracket will end, and I feel like I just don't want to jinx it. I don't want to jinx it. I love this West Virginia basketball team that we got this year. And I'm really excited to watch them play. I don't you never know what's going to happen in the course of like a whole long tournament like that. So who knows? But I've watched this West Virginia team all year, and I know that they have on their good days they can beat anybody else who's playing in the tournament. So we'll just have to see. I mean, there are a lot of good teams out there, but whenever I fill out a bracket, I always feel like I'm jinxing. Now, I don't want to talk about OSU. I don't want to talk about Oklahoma State because I don't know what happened there. But yeah, we might have to play them though because we're in the same bracket. So if we get to, I think, the Sweet 16, we might have to play Oklahoma State again. But things balance out. You know, if they've beat us twice this year and we've beat them once, I like our odds. I like our odds. So as it goes for the home pod, though, I really don't understand why the home pod. I don't understand the thinking here, because Apple had just added that home theater feature, and I fully expected them to rope the AirPods or the HomePod minis into that, and I just thought that they would be the foundation of Apple's sort of home theater thing. And then I just have a feeling that A, they didn't sell enough, and B, they couldn't drop. I think that they just couldn't drop the price enough to make them attractive enough for people to buy them over things that were cheaper. That plus the fact that, you know, they were hobbled by Apple's desire to keep them specifically within the Apple ecosystem. Now, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that you can have a lot more control and a lot better feature set if you do keep things sort of under one roof. But yeah, I just think maybe Apple, you know, they didn't see a roadmap toward actually turning a profit with them. Whereas the HomePod Mini, see, the thing with the HomePod Mini is they have the benefit of all the research that they did for the HomePod that they could then apply to building the HomePod Mini, right? And that makes the opportunity cost, the cost that it, you know, all the research, whenever you develop a new product like the HomePod, you know, that 5 years worth of research plus all the facilities that they built and all the people that they had to pay and all the materials that had to come and go and all that kind of stuff, all the designs, all the prototypes, et cetera, all that stuff has to get paid for when you're selling the product before the product can really be seen as a success. And I think ultimately for the HomePod, it was just a bridge too far. Like they couldn't sell it at $350, they couldn't sell it at $300, they couldn't make back that original nut and make a profit in a reasonable enough time frame to be able to justify keeping it going. But I do think, as Ace says here, I do think that there might be the opportunity for like a retooled HomePod, one that they put together using, you know, some of the information that they got from the first one and maybe building it, you know, with more efficiencies, things that don't have to be there, do have to be there, and all of that. I think that there's a lot that they can do, but I think ultimately, I think ultimately they're going to have to, with Siri. Siri can be what the HomePod had the potential to be was the hub of like the HomeKit ecosystem that runs your house, right? Siri at that time was not smart enough in that device to be able to do that, and HomeKit like the smart home thing wasn't mature enough to really be there. So I think that Siri was good at doing individual things with the HomePod. Like if you ask Siri to play, if you ask Siri to play something, she would play it. But if you asked her to do complex things, she couldn't do it. So yeah. And I'll take that. I haven't had a chance to watch your video about it yet. I've been like totally swamped. But yeah, it it definitely was a flop, and it's kind of a drag because I wasn't happy with it as a product when it first came out. But as it developed, I started to like it more and more. And as it had more use cases and it became a little bit more refined here and there, I started to see real potential for the HomePod. Um, but yeah, I think Bob's got a good point. The chips that Apple has now that they didn't have then, like the U1 and the stuff that they're using in the AirPods and stuff like that. I think that there are probably ways that they could retool the HomePod and make it something a lot more attractive. But the real question is there a market for that kind of like not giant but not tiny smart speaker? I mean, the HomePod sounded great. Um, Sonos Play Ones and the Sonos One and all those things sound great. Sonos Play Fives sound amazing. But is there really a market for that stuff? Because, like I said in the video that I made the other day, I feel like as Apple was putting out the HomePod, Google and Amazon were transitioning to devices with screens, and that became like a whole different thing. And I think that ultimately there aren't enough people who care enough about like really good sound quality to sell enough of those things to make it worthwhile. I don't know. I mean, maybe my faith in people is too harsh, but I just don't feel like people care about like high fidelity enough to really, make a big deal about the difference between an Echo and a HomePod, right? Or a Sonos. I mean, Sonos kind of had that market already sewn up. If you wanted whole home audio, then Sonos was the system to go with. They were already there. They had already like very deeply developed that system for themselves. So Apple was trying to compete both with Sonos and with Google and Amazon, and they just got stuck in the middle somewhere. And I think Tech for Your Needs. Your point is a good one, but I think it kind of dovetails with what I just said, which is that I think the majority of the people on looking at the market, the majority of people were saying it needs to be like, you know, Google Home, or it needs to be like an Echo. And then there are other people saying it needs to perform like a Sonos. And I think Apple just got stuck in the middle. They didn't make something that performed a as well as like the Google or Amazon ecosystem, and they were on par with Sonos. I think they were close enough that you could say it was a it was a toss up between one person's taste to another person's taste, which one sounded better. And I tend to like Sonos a little bit better overall, but I really was seeing the potential of the HomePod growing. Um, so so I don't know. I think they got caught in the middle, and then again, I'll I'll dad tech with another super chat, dude. I appreciate it. I really do. Um, so people want a smart speaker first, and then something that will fill the room with okay audio second. Yeah, excuse me. The HomePod was the antithesis of what the market wanted, and that's why it flopped. I I think it was a little bit of that, but I also think that so in Apple's perfect world, everything is like mid-century modern. yeah, and like really sleek, and the HomePod sits there and it elegantly plays out the music. And I think they have this vision of what the modern home would be, and then there's like the reality of what the modern home is. And like there was too much space in between for the HomePod. Now, Roberto says here, HomePod flop because of Bluetooth, no Bluetooth, and I'll agree with that. I mean, Bluetooth was a feature that a lot of people relied on. The thing is, like, I didn't really mind that there was no Bluetooth. I mean, because I'd already been using Sonos, and Sonos doesn't really do Bluetooth either. So Sonos was a closed network, HomePod closed network. I was used to that mindset, right? And so it didn't bother me all that much, but I can certainly see how it would be bothersome to a lot of people, and it would cut a lot of people out of the market for a HomePod. Now, I mean, one of the frustrating things, like, so I'm using this Galaxy S21 Ultra right now, and I'm using Apple Music on it. But when I go to Apple Music and I want to stream something from Apple Music to to a device somewhere else, I hit this and it only notices like my Chromecast devices. So I can't even go from Apple Music to my HomePods on on an Android machine. I can't do it. So that's frustrating, because like I really wanted to hear this song earlier. This song, Black Crows, Thorn in My Pride. It's a good song. It came on as I was getting out of the car last night, and I was like, well, I'll listen to it on the HomePods while I'm sitting here unboxing this TV that I unboxed, and I couldn't get it to play. Couldn't get it to play. So annoying. And then there was the price, as Jermaine says. The price. I mean, in terms of Apple, I don't think it was surprising that it cost that much, but I think that there were enough products that were good enough, that were significantly cheaper, that it didn't have like the smart speaker, the smart, whatever you want to call it, doesn't have the place in the marketplace that a headphone does, right? Headphones have a very specific place in the market, and you can get cheap headphones and you can get expensive headphones. And so Apple can play in the expensive headphone market with the AirPods Max, and maybe get away with it. But when you've got an Amazon Echo that's $99, and then you've got a $350 HomePod, and the majority of people are not going to really notice that much of a difference between one or the other, and one's going to listen to them and tell them things more readily than the other, and the other one's going to play Spotify, then it's like, yeah, it was not a good. Well, I understand. I guess I understand why they did it, but I understand why they did it the way they did it, but I don't think they fully understood the market by the time they got there. Because if they were developing that thing for 5 years and then they release it, I mean, wherever they started 5 years before, whatever they thought it was going to be, and then moved through those 5 years. I mean, half a decade of tech is like 20 years. So I just don't think that they could pivot and make it something that fit the marketplace a little bit better because of what they had done up to that point. So it would be really interesting to like be a fly on the wall and hear the real reasons why the HomePod got yanked. But yeah, I mean, I think Apple might have gone a little bit too Apple on the HomePod. And honestly, they may have done the same thing with the AirPods Max. We'll just have to wait and see. The AirPods Max, I mean, right now there's like used AirPods Max are selling on eBay for brand new prices. And there are some people who are trying to like raise the price, but like when I put mine on eBay, they suggested $549 as the price that I put them up. I'm like, well, I don't know. I'll do it and see what happens. Most likely I'll go in and like lower it here in a day or so, but that just goes to show you like the market for the AirPods Max is still really strong because there's just not enough stock, right? And I think Ace, you have a good point too, that in the 5 years between when they first initiated the HomePod project and when the HomePod came out, I do think that they probably were expecting Siri to be more of a thing. So yeah, it's one of those products where if you were to buy it at launch, you have to be like 100% in the tank for Apple, right? You got Apple Music, you use Siri exclusively, all your devices are Apple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like you had to be totally in the tank for Apple for that device to work for you. And even then, I don't know if a lot of people who were totally in the tank for Apple would still feel like it was the best purchase for that price. The Mini, though, the Mini is different. I think the Mini at $99. See, there are certain price points that are triggers for purchase decisions among the unwashed buying public. And $99 for a tech product is one of those trigger prices, right? Where you see it and you see it's Apple and you see it's $99 and you're like, oh, I can afford that. And it's Apple, right? So I have one. I've been using it. It gets loud. It sounds full. I don't feel like I'm listening to a tiny speaker. It's like, remember the original Google Homes, those little pucks? Those things sounded awful, just terrible. They were bad. And so I remember thinking like nobody would ever want to listen to this thing. The Mini is not that much. I mean, in terms of volume, it might not be any bigger than the original Google Home, but it sounds really good. And I will say that every time that I've asked Siri to do something on it, it does it. So I mean, I'm not asking the world. I'm just like play Ray Charles, and it does it. So yeah, oh man. So it's funny. I don't know if you guys have watched this. So I read the book. No, actually, I listened to the audiobooks of Stephen King's Mr. Mercedes, and then the 2 books that came after it. So I started watching the series, and one of the characters works as I guess the equivalent of like a Geek Squad guy at a second rate electronic store, and they have like the Geek Squad type car, but it's a PT Cruiser, which that's the kind of attention to detail that I really appreciate. They can't even be cool enough to get the Volkswagens. They've got to get the PT Cruiser. It's set in 2009, so it works. But that series, written and directed by David E. Kelly, we've got Dennis Lehane as an executive producer, along with Stephen King, and I mean, there's some good people behind that. I will have to say that the first 3 episodes, maybe it's because I've read the book and I kind of know where the story's going, it's felt a little slow. But yeah, Mr. Mercedes. I've been watching it on Peacock. When they moved the Office over to Peacock, my daughter and I had not yet finished watching all of The Office, so we had to go to Peacock, and Peacock has some other kind of cool stuff, one of which being Mr. Mercedes. So that's what I've been watching recently. Um, I've kind of been in a dry spell, although I did watch this movie the other night. Kind of an indie movie. It's been a long time since I chose to watch an indie movie because I get really emotional when I watch movies. And sometimes I'd rather watch like a stupid action movie or horror movie and not get emotional. but but at the same time, like, I watched this movie called Yellow Rose. It's about a teenage girl who is undocumented in Texas, and there's great music scene down there, and she loves country music, and so it's a really good movie. Centers around like Texas style country music, and Dale Watson, who's a great performer, songwriter, singer, is in it. The Broken Spoke, which is a famous Austin club, is in there. So, but yeah, it's so I've been watching that. But I got to tell you, so I don't know if you guys saw on the Twitters today, but I got that TCL 6 Series TV that TCL sent to me, and it's got mini LEDs, and and it's going to be like, so I basically set it up. My house is too small to set up two 65-inch TVs side by side, so I set it up the uh in front of the LG C9 OLED TV, and Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to be like the first real test. And then, of course, March Madness basketball, and I'll have to put it through all the other paces of the Blade Runners and all that kind of thing. But so far, I just had it set up for an hour or two before I started the stream. So far, this TCL TV is seriously the real deal. I've been very, very impressed with the picture quality. You getting QLED micro LED. I I don't know. It's dark out now, so I'll be able to really see um I'll be able to see a little bit more how it performs in like my regular TV watching place. But but yeah, and Dale Watson is one of the greats. Man, people like Dale Watson. Um yeah. There's like that whole alternative country scene that's just been percolating down there in the underbelly of music for almost going on 50 years now. And Dale Watson's one of the greats for sure. So hold on, I'm reading here. Sorry. The Yorkie Pud. I'm sorry. I had to make the text bigger to make sure that I was saying it. Says I have both the mini and two HomePods for a TV. Find it bizarre killing off the HomePod without upgrading. They will probably sell some sub $200 and pair them up to the minis. See, this is a question, because I heard that right after they announced that they were getting rid of the HomePods, that they were discontinuing them, that the space gray HomePods on Apple's website sold out immediately. I haven't checked. I haven't looked. I haven't looked to see if there are more available elsewhere or anything like that. But yeah, it is a weird choice. And when I initially saw the news, I thought, they've discontinued the HomePod. They're having an event on the 23rd, supposedly. So maybe that means that we'll get HomePod 2.0 on the 23rd. But I don't know that Apple usually does things in that order. Usually they'll they'll announce the new thing and then discontinue the old thing. Is usually the way that they do stuff. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Kong versus Godzilla. Yeah, that'll be good too. See, the thing that last Godzilla movie is one of the best movies. It's kind of like the Battle of Winterfell episode of Game of Thrones. If you want to see how well your TV handles darks, like if your TV can handle the contrast of like really really dark scenes. I remember watching the Battle of Winterfell, and I had the OLED TV, and then I went on Twitter, and everybody was like, "I can't see anything. I can't see anything," and I was like, "I could see it," and so that for the last Godzilla movie was like that too. I remember watching it. I forget where I was, but I watched it on a TV that wasn't mine, and I couldn't see anything. I couldn't see anything. So yeah, my stimulus check is supposed to be in the bank tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see. We'll yeah. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say about this whole stimulus thing, but I do know that we're reaching 2 hours. I recorded 3 videos today, and I've been talking for 2 hours. So I think I'm gonna end it here, people. I'm gonna end it here. Press the button for the outro music, which I haven't set up yet. But yeah, I'm gonna be done for this evening. I'm gonna go kick back, get myself a nice cool glass of Mio, cherry blackberry flavor, and maybe a tiny ice cream cone. Because I did I tell you that I went to the doctor and I stepped on the scale and I saw a number that was nowhere near any number that I'd ever seen before, and now I'm like, I got to stop being such a fat bastard. So I'm eating like tiny ice cream cones as a little treat. Anyway, you guys have been awesome. Thanks so much for being here. Once again, my name is Jason. This is Painfully Honest Tech, the tech that's so honest it hurts. This has been a live episode of me yakking on and on ad nauseum about whatever it is that came to my brain with the help of you guys out there just giving me material. Until the next time, I'm out.